For a big chunk of my career, about 17 or 18 years, I was using shoulder-mounted cameras, beta cams type stuff, and the way I was seeing what I was recording, monitoring my image, was a viewfinder, black and white viewfinder, and it was terrific, and I was able to get a focus with it clearly. And because it's black and white, you have to know your white balances and stuff. I think it was about a year or so into my freelance career when I bought my first monitor, a Panasonic monitor. But I have a general rule, which is if I'm shooting handheld, I don't use monitors, I use viewfinders. And if I'm shooting on a tripod, or of course a gimbal type stuff, then I am going to be using a monitor. Now EVFs, if it comes to stills cameras, mirrorless ones of course most of them have really terrific EVFs. Every single video camera I own has a pretty bad EVF. So, Sony FS7, FS5, Canon C200, etc. One on the EVA1, Panasonic is terrible. They're all terrible. You need to add on an external one. So I use the Zacuto Gratical HD, which is HDMI and SDI, and the Gratical I, which is SDI only. And I use those in my video cameras, and they're terrific, and they work on everything. So I've even used the Gratical HD on the A7S II, and I'm shooting the science fiction film Salient -10. And it was terrific and it's wonderful. But on a tripod, monitors. I really love great monitors. And I've been using SmallHD monitors. I didn't get that very first one, but I did get one not long after that. The very best monitor that I own is from them, and it is this one here, which is the 703 Ultra Bright. This is 2,200 nits. So you can see this in intense daylight. The first time I saw this was at the NAB show in Vegas. And so the show is in April each year, and they're inside these big convention centers. And of course, when you see monitors inside, you don't really get a sense of just how bright they are and how good they are. But they took me outside and we had a look at it in the bright daylight, and it was astonishing. You could see it so clearly without any sun hood whatsoever. Full HD, full inputs, HDMI, SDI, cross conversion, just incredible. And they run off of the Sony L series batteries, a couple of 970s. Will probably see you through a day. That's one of the best things about SmallHD monitors, is their power consumption is really, really low. Let's move on to the other 7-inch I got, which is even older, and that is this one here, the 702. Bright one is 1,000 nits, not as bright as the ultra bright, but you can still see it in daylight, of course. It is daylight viewable, not in that intense sun, so you might want to have a bit of a shade around it, but for most daylight stuff it's absolutely fine. Cross conversion on this as well, full HD. It's terrific. Neither of these are touchscreen, they use joysticks and stuff. So I do have a 502, which is the smaller version of this, and I have a 503, which is a smaller version. So I'm not going to go through every single monitor that I have because I have a lot. Let's go on to the cheap one. This is their budget monitor, which is the Focus. It's 5 inches. I don't call it Focus 5, it's just called Focus, and it's terrific. It isn't full HD though. It is 720p, which is fine though for a small monitor like this. It's great for going on these smaller cameras, your mirrorless cameras and stuff like that. I mean, the biggest downside to the 703 is simply that it is a heavy monitor, especially when you have the Sony batteries on it. And on a smaller camera, then it's too big and heavy really for me. On a gimbal, for sure it's too heavy, because gimbal, you want to reduce the weight as much as possible. 702 is definitely lighter, but not as light as the Focus. The Focus is a perfect on-camera monitor for your stills cameras and for gimbals. It is terrific. Let's move on to a slightly better quality screen. Oh yeah, that Focus is 800 nits. So not as bright, but still daylight viewable. If you're going to be in really bright conditions with direct sun, then yeah, you're going to need a shade as well. This is the OLED version, 5.5-inch Focus OLED. These are both touchscreen, same wonderful operating system, and it has a really nice system of when you actually flip the screen around, it automatically has the orientation, don't need to mirror, flip the screen or anything like that with these terrific arms. So it's a really nice screen. Because it is OLED, it is brighter than the LCD screen, but I think it's rated at 350 nits. So it is definitely harder to see in daylight than the other ones, I have to say. So I don't tend to use this that much when I'm out and about. I would put on the Focus if I'm shooting outdoors, but this is a better screen, OLED and 1080p. So that brings us on to this, which is the Focus 7. This is a terrific screen. It's full HD and it is 1000 nits. So it is daylight viewable in everything except really intense sun. So I used it, first time I got it was a week ago. I went out into Richmond Green using the new Zcam E2 Zcam if you're American, and put it on, and it was an absolute joy to use. It's been really lovely in England until now, and we've had some incredible weather, and I could see everything really clearly. Unlike the smaller Focuses, this has a full-size HDMI input. These use micro HDMI, and I hate micro HDMI with a passion. It's something we have on certain stills cameras because there's not a lot of space, but I absolutely hate them. They're just not very robust. I mean, the thing is, it is robust on these because it is protected with plastic around it, but it's very tight in here, which means it's very difficult to use any other cables, any other branded cables. So yeah, well, this is recessed still, so it's got protection around it. On the 702, it's got inputs there, they're not recessed at all, but it is recessed into here. It will take most HDMI cables. I haven't tried every one. I've definitely got some really fat ones which won't go in here, but all the ones I've tried have been fine. I like using these cables from Lindy, which are called Chromo Slim, I think. And it goes in here. It's a little bit difficult to get to because it is so deeply recessed. And once you have got it in there, and I've tended to use a pen to poke it in a bit to get it in exactly as I want it to be, and it is really secure. It isn't going to come out. It just means if you're trying to get the cable out when you're finished, you kind of have to pull the cable itself because you can't get to the actual part of the plug, which isn't ideal. But that's kind of the only negative I've really come across with this. HDMI only, there's no SDI input. I'm sure there will be an SDI input at some point, no cross conversion. Full support for all your LUTs, exactly the same. The OS is an absolute joy, and it's called OS 3. Seriously, if you've not used SmallHD operating system, you'll find it is just an absolute joy and pleasure to use. The smaller ones have a single NPF thing on there. This will power off of the sort of the middle ground. I think they're called 550 L series. I'm not quite sure. All day. This takes two, so you can hot swap. Again, this would last forever. Two 970s will probably last all day, but I haven't actually tested it out to try. It doesn't come with this arm, which is a shame because I think you need it. You don't want to stick this onto a little ball head because you're losing, well, I hate ball heads anyway, they always slip off. And this is a terrific arm. It does have 4 quarter 20s. It's got one here, 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 and here for mounting it in all sorts of places. It doesn't have a quarter 20 on the top, which is interesting. I thought it would have done, but I guess they made the decision not to, whereas the Focus 5s all have that. But yeah, the screen is really nice. It is LCD, it isn't OLED, but $699, which probably is going to equate to exactly the same in pounds and probably the same in euros. It's so light. It's so light. The image is so good. It's bright. It lasts ages on your batteries, and the OS. For me, this is the perfect monitor to go onto my gimbals. I'm finding the 5 inches to be a bit too small with my fading eyesight. I do need glasses a fair bit of the time now, which is depressing. But the weight on this is not far off this Focus OLED with the arm, which is crazy. And yeah, even on the stills cameras, although it's, you know, it is, the 5 inches tend to be a better fit size-wise, it doesn't feel overly top-heavy with this on, which is important. And so yeah, this has become very quickly my favourite all-round monitor. It's not the best monitor I own, which is still the 703, but that's a lot more money at £2,200-ish or so. I'm not quite sure VAT or non-VAT prices. If you don't know what that is, you don't live in Europe, obviously, and nor will we soon at this rate. And yeah, $699. It's a bargain, but you have to get the arm separate. So there you go, Focus 7.